everyone, I'm Heather,
I'm Cameron.
and we're the Berries.
Today I would like to share with you one of the most rewarding and difficult times of my life. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, I disclosed to my wife my hidden porn addiction. Something that I thought was going to destroy my life and destroy my marriage and really just end everything. But I was incredibly wrong.
What it ended up doing was created a springboard for us to heal on levels we didn't know was possible, and as a result we have one of the most rewarding marriages I could even imagine. Life is so much better because of this struggle. And early on we knew that we were learning some things that were so big and so profound that we had to share them with others, because we're not alone. There are so many people that are struggling with this situation or others like it, and they're looking for help. So we recorded the story of what happened and how it all went down, and we want to invite you to come along with us on this journey as we discuss and share and talk about the things that have changed our lives for the better. And it's going to happen in the car. You're going to see us right here with our baby's car seat in the back, because we're busy parents to 5 kids, and we've got jobs, and we have some of the best conversations when we're traveling to work together in the car. So join us, enjoy, and we hope this is helpful.
So we wanted to tell our story of T-Day. And T-Day, for those of you who don't know, it means Truth Day. We use that instead of D-Day for disclosure or Discovery Day, for a difficult time where a betrayal was found out. And we wanted to share our T-Day story, our Truth Day story, with all of you, because we know there's going to be questions, and we wanted to have a space where we could direct people back to have most of those answered and to tell our story, because we actually don't want to keep telling this story every single time on our podcast. We want this just to be a frame of reference so that we can talk about the things that are actually making life better and the joy and happiness that we're having without having to refer back to this all the time.
Yes. And we wanted to call it T-Day instead of D-Day because the connotation tended to be really negative. Just calling it D-Day, brings up World War II and things like that. So
you find in a lot of the therapeutic groups, it's referred to really in a lot of sad, hard energy. And for myself, when I was talking to Cameron about that, I knew that I didn't want to set that up for myself. I actually would rather celebrate at, these milestones that we're in a different place and we're better for it. So we're going to share with you what happened on our T-Day. And this is a hard story, but the ending is victorious and it's still happening. Like, we're still writing that story.
Yeah, totally.
So it begins the weekend after Thanksgiving. We were home for a long holiday weekend, and it was a Saturday morning, and we were making cookies to take to the neighbors, some Christmas cookies. We had Christmas music up, we had decorations going up, and we're just spending some family time together. And Cameron had been taking some pictures of our little 3-year-old, or at the time she was 2, and she was dressing up in some high heel shoes of mine I had purchased for an event for work, and just being super cute. And he came out and showed me his camera roll with where all the icons go up.
Yeah, it's just a photo album. Yeah, check it out.
Because there were multiple shots of her.
Yeah.
And I saw something that I'd never expected to see.
Yeah, there was a pornographic image mixed in there, and the I guess it's humorous now. I guess is as shocked as Heather was, I was also shocked because I didn't think I had saved anything, but I did know probably how it got there,
and he recognized it,
and I recognized it, and so she's like, "What's that?" And I tried to, I did what I normally did. I lied.
Well, and I
tried to play it off.
So I had never seen anything like that before. We've been married a little over 18 years at the time. I had never come across an image on his computer, on his phone, nothing. I was kind of shocked. In fact, it's interesting thinking back now because I don't know why I didn't have so many questions right away. I mean, I did ask and I did say, like, what is that? And I was concerned. But your confusion and all that, like, I wasn't suspicious that there was something really off going on, or that I did not suspect what I was going to find out later.
Yes. And so, I tried to play it off, make some excuses that I guess were kind of working, but nothing was really sticking. And in my head, this was possibly the end of my life. You feel so scared. The lies and the hiding, the failure of them, which was inevitable, of course. But actually happening was just the scariest thing I could think of.
And at the time, I don't think you could have described it or understood what was going on. But because we've done so much decompressing and talking, what was so important to him was keeping a perception of a person that he desperately wanted to be, but felt stuck and couldn't be different yet.
Yes.
And so what I found interesting is we really talked and figured things out and understood. You got to understand where you were coming from better was that it really was the most terrifying, almost like facing death, because you had built your personality and the world, what you showed the world on this image that was all of a sudden now had a huge
and it makes sense that anything that you were kind of surviving by feels like your life is being threatened when it's crumbling.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So when it's your lies or it's something like that's going on, and so I spent the rest of the day just scared out of my mind.
Yeah.
Thinking there's got to be a better lie. And let's be clear. I want to be clear. I didn't like this. I'm going to call it addiction for right now. I didn't like this addiction. I didn't like the fact that I felt powerless to it. And whether or not you agree with the ethical aspect of it, I believe that it's bad, and I didn't want to be a part of it, but I felt pretty trapped. And so I spent the rest of the day thinking that my life was now over.
And and we could tell this later, but really, just some background. This is an addiction, for lack of a better word. At this point, we're going to talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
It was something that he had dealt with for majority of his life.
Yeah.
And hadn't told
aspects of it since I was a young kid.
Yeah. Now, obviously, accessibility when you were younger, and it looked different, but with the
Correct.
internet and the ease of finding it, it became something that was.
I'm directly addressing the hiding aspect.
Yeah.
Yes. So the pornographic aspect, the pornography, that was later, but the hiding aspect, long time, and the aspect of anyways, I'll talk more about some of the reasons why this was a long held pattern.
Yeah.
But anyways, we spent the rest of the day just trying to be normal. And
I did so from my perspective, I circled back to it. I asked him, did you figure out what went on? He had a story that was
even I knew that story sucked.
But it made a little bit of sense, just for reference.
Sure.
We use an app called WhatsApp to communicate with family, especially when they were overseas, and it became our family thread. And they have a setting on there where images saved to your camera roll, when they're sent, unless you turn it off, you end up with everyone's pictures on your camera roll. And so that was the explanation. And it was one that made sense to me. And he said, that he sometimes would get chat requests from weird people. He'd delete them, and this one came through, and that he felt embarrassed when I saw it, and he just didn't know what to say and all that. So the story felt somewhat plausible. And I honestly, looking back now, I'm really surprised I didn't press it further that day, but I think there was wisdom in it. because our lives were about to change a whole lot very soon. In terms of like me having to deal with my own baggage, finding out what was going on. So I was actually able to sleep that night. Which was a blessing, considering like I actually sleep kind of was a problem for me for quite a few weeks after everything happened. But so I went to sleep that night, but Cameron had a much different experience.
I did not go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I spent the rest of the night. I believe I'm going to call it the chains of hell. I felt wrecked. I just felt wrecked with shame and just scared, and just my stomach felt twisted up, and I spent the whole night just trying to think of like, how am I going to get out of this? Could I really tell her? No way. Like, like I just, even up until that point where it was all crumbling, I just didn't think it was possible.
Well, you tell yourself stories, to preserve yourself that it's not possible to do these things.
You give yourself possible truths and act like they're definite truths. And it's not that she was going to leave me. She would hate me forever. Even if she did forgive me, she'd hate herself.
We'd still be together, but it wouldn't be a marriage anymore.
It would be a horrible relationship, all those things. Could those things have been possible? Of course. But I by avoiding even the possibility, I was avoiding a lot of other things. But anyways, so yeah, I spent the whole night just not being able to sleep. And then that morning, I woke up.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
I woke up and I looked next to me and my phone's gone. And of course I'm thinking, oh no, she hasn't put this away.
Yeah.
So
I woke up early. It was Sunday morning. I think it was still dark. Yeah, it was definitely still dark out. And all of a sudden my mind just kind of settled on thinking about what had happened, and some of the things, the explanations I started really thinking about. And in the quiet, alone, I didn't have any kids needing anything. I was just there with my own thoughts. I was really kind of off-put, felt like something was off, didn't make sense, and desperately wanted to understand. And so I desperately wanted to understand what was actually going on, because it just felt off. And so I did. I took his phone, and I don't even know what I was looking for. I think I was trying to find the deleted photo to see, because I didn't look at it very closely. It was more shocking. I think I was trying to find it to see, what is this thing? What was going on? Are there other deleted photos? It still had not entered my mind that this could have been a problem that was continuing and had been ongoing our entire marriage. I did not even think that was possible. I thought maybe it was, he had seen something and saved it, or was tempted to look and just didn't want to tell me. And so I was just trying to get answers, just trying to find out how to recover this deleted photo and see if it led me to some explanation that would make sense. But it wasn't very long until he came out and we started talking. And she wasn't letting go. I don't remember what lies I was coming up with, but I don't think I was doing, at this point, I just don't think I even... You had pretty much stopped talking.
Yeah, I didn't have the energy.
I was talking for both of us.
Yeah.
I had a lot of questions and he wasn't answering, and so I was pushing really hard.
And so what I do remember is just culminating till finally, I remember she was saying, "What aren't you telling me?" And that's when I started feeling this prompting that just said, just say it. Just say it. And then, of course, the scared child part of me that just said, heck no. No, you are not going to say it. And then, but that I could feel that war just coming up inside of me. And then eventually she wasn't, she wasn't letting up on the pressure, and I just finally,
And in knowing me, he knew I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
This was now
Yeah.
because of how he was acting and because of the lack of communication happening.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so I only way I can describe this is I felt like I was sitting beside myself as I said the words. Since I was very young, I've had a pornography addiction, and so that was the first time I think I'd ever said that out loud too. Interesting. Yeah, I think it probably was.
Even when, because you had disclosed it previously once before
Yeah,
to
but
a
I never
bishop.
said it like that.
You didn't actually own up to
No.
what was going on. It was more like you had done that. So that's interesting. So it was the first time you had actually owned up to saying
Yeah.
that I am actually experiencing this problem. It's not just something I do occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. And so that happened, and I feel like it's probably your turn to like,
Yeah.
what were you feeling at that moment?
Well, first of all, I really appreciated how he started. The first thing he said was, I want you to know that none of this is your fault. And of course I'm like, well, what on earth? Like I've got I like anxiety, and like my heart rate's up, and I don't know what's about to happen. It felt like kind of like slow motion almost. So it felt like it was in shock. Well, so as he says that, my heart rate's going up, and I feel like I don't know what to expect. I still haven't like thought that this was what it was. And then he's you said, have you ever felt like you were dying? So again, not like, doesn't leave me real hopeful that our conversation's going to be anything pleasant. And when he said it, I was just completely floored. I just remember thinking, like, how is that even possible? How could I not know? Because like we weren't like, we had a close relationship. It's not like we had a fractured, living apart, living separate lives, although we had elements of that happening, right? We definitely had areas of our relationship we knew we wanted to work on, we knew weren't optimal. But like, from my standpoint, I was like, this kind of problem only happens to certain kind of people with certain kinds of relationships, or certain type of individual that could do something like that. And that wasn't us, and that wasn't you. And it felt like my world was upside down all of a sudden. Like we were traveling, a happy 75 miles an hour on the interstate, and just hit a brick wall that popped out of nowhere. And I felt completely disoriented, scared, hurt, devastated. I didn't know what to think, how to feel. I was in shock. I just felt completely blindsided.
Yeah.
Because I would have, and I said this like early on, if someone had put a gun to my head and said, is your husband have a problem or has ever had a problem? I would have said absolutely not, and felt confident that I would have been fine. And that's just how much he hated it about himself and kept it completely hidden from me.
From the world.
And the world. And because it was something from such an early age, and granted, the hiding shifted, what you hid shifted.
Sure.
As you aged and things progressed. But he was so expert at needing to hide the part of him he didn't like, or the part of him he knew was bad or wrong, that like he knew how to manage. He knew how to present himself, and that was, honestly, wasn't the porn that hurt the most. It was that I thought we had a relationship where he couldn't have not told me about it, where you couldn't have kept it quiet.
It definitely shifted paradigms. It wasn't at that moment, but I now see that. I think most people know me probably would guess this. I'm a bit of a people pleaser, and so there's a lot of, when you're doing that, you're managing a lot of people's ideas around you, And so the natural,
To keep
the
yourself
natural-
safe, to keep yourself feeling good,
Yeah.
you have to manage how people see you.
yeah, and so the natural aspect of that will be hiding, will be,
Yeah.
and let me be clear, most of me is not hiding. I've always maintained this. Heather would get upset with me and be like, what else of you is a lie? And I'm like, nothing. Like I am what you saw. There was this big piece of me that wasn't honest, and it was the part that I didn't want. But the rest of it, it wasn't that I was pretending to be somebody else and just managing people's thoughts about me. It was me really being what I want to be.
And it's not like we didn't have conversations about it.
Yeah.
It's not like I didn't check in with him. Like I knew the risks. I didn't even think he was above not being tempted, because it's made to be tempting. I mean, it's
Right.
made to pick on people's carnal desires and very base like food is, right? Like that's why fast food and fat, greasy, salty things or sugar works, because it's like our biology is just like drawn to that easy calorie fix for energy, right? Same thing with sex. So it's not like I was unaware of his ability to be, but that was the hardest part, was he would have told me. Our relationship is good enough that he would have said, hey, I'm struggling with this. And so like that was interesting to me, both obviously the porn still was hurt. I had things to process through there, but the hardest part of this whole journey was the breach of trust, because he didn't let me in, because he didn't let me see him, and he let me think something different, which caused me to question, well, what else can I trust then?
Yeah. So there's a really important part I want to get to at the end.
Well, it's
that
the best
I want
part.
to be the best part. Yes.
Yeah.
So we're also.
It was
I
a
don't wanna make this
really
too long
hard.
here.
We'll just keep fast forward to that part. It was a really difficult day and a half. Not that I magically got 100% better, but very hard. I was in tears a lot. I had to keep moving on with our life. We've got 5 kids. We had responsibilities, and I was it was difficult. And I knew I needed support, because the only person that knew was Cameron, and obviously he's got his own stuff to be dealing with in processing what was going on. He had his own pain points, but I didn't have anyone else to talk to. And I also didn't want, I loved him, and I didn't want him to be seen. I mean, I had such a poor understanding and
It's
belief
interesting
system.
how we actually kind of collude a little bit with that as well, the hiding.
Oh, well, yeah,
Because
but
what I was managing with you is what you wanted people to see of me do.
sure. But I also, my own bad programming was the type of person that watches porn.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Or is addicted to porn is bad, and they're not God-fearing. They're not good people. Especially when they believe it's wrong, especially when you've made promises. I had this entire belief system built up around people that would do that. And so my programming was screwed up, and so I had that going on. I'm I don't want people to know that about you. I don't want them to think something bad, because all of a sudden I was challenged in an instant. My opinion of what that type of person did was challenged based on my nearly 20 years of a life with him, and all I was everything I thought I understood about life in that world was I have to rebuild it. I had to process and reprogram myself. And so anyway, but I needed support.
Yeah.
Because I was hurting and I didn't know where to go, and we had reached out already to our bishop, our
Church leader
who helped us with resource for addiction recovery, and they had spousal support, and I had called them, but I knew I needed someone in my life that I could tell and that would help me. And I, by profession, I do life coaching, and a certain process that we walk people through during the coaching sessions is called belief breakthrough. And what it does is it takes a good hard look at the belief systems that we operate under, and when they're not working for us, and when our beliefs are actually causing us pain and sorrow and holding us back from the results we'd like to find, it's really amazing at fine-tuning, like identifying them and helping us break through those and choose beliefs and implement those beliefs so that we have optimal results in our life. And so I have a fellow coach that I work with, as I was praying, whose name came to my mind, and I reached out to her and I said, can you help me? I need a breakthrough and I need to talk to somebody. And she's so graciously made time for me, and I was able to share. And one of the most beautiful things that she did for me was say, because she knows Cameron too, and I knew she would be this way, but she reaffirmed. She said, this does not change my opinion of him. I love both of you, and I'm rooting for you, and I'm here to support you. And so you had come home from work early because you were exhausted that day, had a headache, you was taking a nap, and I was on the phone with her. And we did the work, and I left that phone call feeling like a complete switch, had occurred. Like I went from feeling like I was the victim, I was out of control, I couldn't change my circumstance and my life is ruined and forever over, to recognizing that I love Cameron. I get to choose and influence my story. It's not over unless we both choose for it to be over. And I knew that he didn't want that. And I didn't want it. And so there was a lot of hope and a lot of ability for us to drastically change the course of where we were headed, because we had seen examples in our own life of people that had been in similar situations and it ended in divorce and families separated and just awful. And so we didn't want that. And we had some control over it. And so I remember I came into our room after the breakthrough, or maybe you walked in, I don't remember anymore.
I thought I was laying down in my guest room.
I think you came into our room then.
Okay.
And I just walked up to him and I gave him a kiss and I said, I love you. And I don't remember, did I say like we're gonna?
You said you're here for basically paraphrasing, said you're here for the long haul and you want to work on it, and
Yeah.
and that you choose me. And I thought that was really, and it floored me. I wasn't expecting that.
It was a turning point, and that happened like a day and a half after disclosure.
Yeah.
And then what we ended up doing, and this is where the story gets amazing.
Yes.
What we ended up doing was deciding that we're going to work together and we're going to figure this out, and what that looked like. And then the hack, like it's like a life hack that we stumbled into. I don't want to say stumbled. It was God-given. We just really didn't know what we were doing. We didn't understand that it was the right way to go about it. It's just what we did.
Yes.
And so we started talking a lot. We also, just in talking with our bishop and like the heads up, like he kind of talked to me, he was like saying, like with these type of things, relapse is something that happens, just kind of trying to help me feel prepared. And I remember thinking a lot about that after my breakthrough, and I'm like, and my work with mindset, I'm like, yeah, if you believe something, you're going to make it happen. And I told him, I'm like, Cameron, if you believe that relapse is likely, it will happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to. That's up to you. And if it does, we'll work through that. But it doesn't have to happen. And so that was kind of the framework that we started this in. And then also, well, when was your commitment to being honest? Because we talked about that, like this radical
That was
honesty.
interesting. Okay, so then about, I think it was that same day, or I remember it was an evening. We were just talking. And it was something, we got onto the topic of like, you can just tell me whatever it is and I'll let you know, just tell me. And I remember it was something about like the just tell me, that like, I made an important switch in my head because my whole life I had been I've been hiding to protect myself and others. My thought I was, and it was a bad plan. It didn't really work. It was never going to work. But that's how you operate when you make these decisions as a kid. This was my decision that I had to hide. And then something about that moment, it was just like, well, I don't want this to be forever, so I'm just going to say everything. And I flipped the switch to say, now, truth is going to protect me. Every single shred of truth is going to protect me. And so we sat down. I remember we were on a couch in our living room, and I told her everything. Every single shameful thing I could think of that I've ever done. I told
Did you
her.
do that? Because so my memory is like we had lots of talks like that because I would wake up in the morning.
So,
like there was a point where I couldn't sleep past 3 a.m.
That started then, though.
It started in that
started that
moment.
moment, and then over
And there
time.
was no question I couldn't ask.
Nope.
And even if it was something that was painful for him to admit, like even like a feeling about me or anything like that, he would still tell me the truth, which wasn't pleasant for either of us, but so very healing.
And this is
because-
important. This is really important. Whether or not Heather knows it's the truth, it doesn't matter in that I can't make her believe me, and I've now proven I've been untruthful for things. So as far as that part of it go, it didn't matter. This was my commitment. This is only something that I think the person who's making this kind of disclosure, this kind of transformation, as I want to call it, you have to make the commitment. And so I did. I said, okay, it's all the way. And even at this point, I'm hoping Heather believes me, and I think that's just the way faith works. There's no way she can be in my head to know it's everything. I just have to make that commitment myself and do it. But I can tell you.
And there's no way that you could know how I would respond. You had to have
No.
faith to tell me and to trust me.
And it was very
with your
uncomfortable.
darkest secrets.
In fact, the more uncomfortable it was to say something, I made the decision that it just had to be the thing to say. And so
But
it
it
was just,
opened doors for us because he was willing to tell me and
want to
not
stop.
shy away.
I just want to stop for just a second to recognize, because I think there are so many people. I know people close to me who also have things in their past they just don't want to talk about, and everybody believes that this is just something that's in the family. We don't talk about it. We don't need to go back there. Why would you want to bring up stuff like that?
Don't air your dirty laundry.
I'm telling you, there's a right way to do it, of course, but this moment for me is where everything changed.
Well, it saved. I think the key moments we had individually with the choice that we said this is important to us and we want it. God's like, okay, and I'm going to guide you every step of the way.
Yes.
And because you chose into that moment that I'm going to be honest, I'm changing how I do things, and I said I'm working on this and I'm going to learn. I also immediately, and this also like hands down, like my training for my job and where I was placed with my work and everything that I'd gone through previous set me up to also recognize I can't control him, but I can control me. Also, if there's a problem, I need to always look. Like, it's so important to look at what you are contributing to that problem. And so Cameron was good from the get-go, who said, this was never your fault. I never, and I'm not even in saying that it was. Like, I don't think I ever, for 1 second, forced you into looking at pornography, no matter how bad things were with us at that moment.
No.
That wasn't my fault. However, I still showed up into our relationship a certain way, and I had my own issues, and I wasn't being the kind of wife that I wanted to be. I knew I had weaknesses that were, problematic, and I wasn't afraid to take a good hard look at what I had contributed to the deterioration of our marriage and to the reasons you gave yourself that I wasn't safe. Because I played into that you created part of it and I created part of it, and I had to own and look at what I created in order for him to expect him to do it himself.
This
like,
is
I
really
couldn't make
important.
this all your problem.
This is really, really, really important, because the healing is going to happen when either side of this equation is being acted upon. If someone, and we talk about this, I also made a decision. It didn't matter if she wasn't going to be safe. I was going to be honest. Did it matter? Like forever and ever from now, like from now and forever, I will be honest. And whether or not she's safe or ready for it, that's me trying to manage her, and I won't do it.
And I had to also confront in myself that you might relapse, you might go back, you might have other things that you haven't told me yet, and where do I stand in terms of who I want to be and show up in our relationship.
But either side of
and
this
marriage.
equation can happen at any time, and
Yeah.
healing will start as soon as you do that. But the fact that we both did that
At
right
the
about the
same
same
time.
time, it made the healing rapidity of the healing incredible.
Like within a week, because we met with our bishop at church, like the day he told me,
Yeah.
which I, hats off to him for that. Like he just was willing to rip the Band-Aid off completely.
Yeah.
And then we met again the following Sunday. And in that week's span, we had somehow, even though there was hurt and healing and tears and pain, we had connected on a level that we had never done before.
No.
True intimacy means being seen and being quote unquote naked, fully, like you were seen for who you are.
Yeah.
Without any of the illusions, without any of that. Like we actually, for the first time in our lives, let each other see each other, because I owned up to the things that I'd been hiding. They weren't
It was same.
it weren't infractions on trust, but things like, when I say that, I mean like things I might have been embarrassed about that I didn't share.
Yeah.
Because like, well, why would you bring that up? Like, that's embarrassing. He doesn't need to know that. Like, and I never thought about it before, but I'm like, I'm hiding too. And in order for me to expect him to share all of that, I better be able to share all of me. And so we just did that. I remember saying to you, like, ask me anything, I'll tell you anything. And we just kind of did that. And what it led to was such an incredible bonding experience and closeness that we had never experienced before. And we're like, what just happened? Like I'm not gonna lie, it was like this turmoil of like all different emotions, but in the middle of the pain was such exquisite joy and happiness and excitement, like to know him and see him. Because I remember, like, I mean, you remember this probably too. I'd be like, what are you thinking? Like, we'd be laying in bed one morning and I'm like, what are you thinking? I just wanted to know more. And I always felt, and like, I always knew like you weren't, either you just weren't, like really weren't thinking anything, or you just didn't know how to share it. And so I remember just really wanting that, more of that. And all of a sudden I had it. And that was just such an incredible enhancement to our relationship. And one that I think surprised you. Like the very thing that you were so afraid of telling me opened the door for the connection you wanted to have and I wanted to have and didn't know how to get.
We even said, I remember you saying it, probably within the first 2 weeks, if not the first week, like, we've just been pretending to be married and adults until now.
Yeah, it felt like we were playing house.
Yeah, we're playing house. That's what you said. Yeah.
I even felt that, like, I actually had that feeling consciously before that. Like, I would sit back and look at our lives and I'm like, I feel like I'm just, there's something missing.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just not supposed to be, I felt kind of like an imposter sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be this, wife and mother to these kids, and I feel like I don't have my stuff together, and I don't know. And all of a sudden it went to like, it got real, and it changed and it shifted, and I don't even know how to describe it.
I think we should wrap up, because I think this really is, because we're going to be talking so much about this. The story, how it happened, what happened, there might be light touches on it from here on out, but just so you know, this is our story. But what happened after is what we're going to be talking a lot more about.
And what matters most, it's not like what happened or that he had a porn addiction. It's like the relationship that we built.
I now see this as the best day of my life. Yeah. Everything has changed so dramatically, and I feel more empowered. I've talked about this in other spaces, but I don't know if I've done it here yet, where I fall asleep like the drop of a hat, like weird knock-on effects like that. Like,
Well,
I didn't
guilty
realize
conscience,
that
yeah.
that the guilt and anxiety and shame that I just kind of had all around me all the time was just something that I carried with me, and I didn't realize that was something that was even happening. And so now I turn over and I fall asleep. Drives her crazy. I just
I'm like, I'm not quite ready, and I want to talk. And he's,
like within
snoring.
seconds I'm out, and it's amazing. And I believe it's a miracle, and I believe it's a miracle that can be replicated.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like, there are miracles that'll happen in your life. They're like, that is so unique to your situation, and it's neat, and you hold them and you cherish them. This is a miracle I believe so many people can have. And I want you to have it too. If you're someone listening to this now, and you're in this situation, it doesn't have to be pornography. It could be anything that you're hiding, you feel shame about. It's this bubble that's just getting
Something
bigger
you
and
don't
bigger.
think you can get over.
Yeah, something you don't think you can get over. I believe you can. I know you can. I did. It's been almost a year, and I don't even feel a shadow of need to do it anymore.
And he never relapsed.
I never relapsed. I never even got close to relapsing. And
And
I
it-
believe this thing that we did, this combination of complete honesty and openness, brought that. It made that healing happen almost instantaneous. And this is the miracle I believe could happen to other people as well.
It wasn't an easy decision to choose to tell our story so publicly.
No.
But I think it's interesting that early on, in the first weeks, I had this like prompting. I'm like, what we're doing is so crazy, and I can't believe what's happened. Like, we have to share what we're doing. We have to record this. We have to tell other people, because this is pornography
everywhere.
in particular, like, is a rampant problem. But like the principles of what we're talking about, like, everyone is dealing with those. And if we can make the progress that we did and find the joy and love and like happiness, like, our marriage is so much better than it ever has been.
Not perfect,
Even though
and we're developing it.
Even though we're still dealing from time to time with hurt and pain over this issue.
Sure.
It's like a million times better than it was. And if we can figure this out and we can shed light and help other people, we want to do that.
I had no idea. I had no idea what I was missing. I didn't even imagine what I was missing. I had imagined what life would have been like without it. Of course I did. I thought I could be this person that I was portraying to people without the lies, and I had thought about that. And then, but I had not thought about the closeness, the deepening of love. I remember I was sitting next to Heather. We were watching a movie the other day, and I felt a type of love, like a deepening kind of love that I haven't felt before. And I've always loved her, but there was something that just felt, you know what it was, and I did tell this to her. I felt calm. It was a calm love, because all up until now, and I believe a lot of people are like this. I had I love you, but I've got this thing that I'm doing and I'm messing up in the background. You know, I feel that. I've got this thing about me that I can't talk to you about. I love you, but was always in there, and it wasn't there this time. I was just, I love you, and I don't have any of those things. I love you completely. You know everything.
Love is a verb,
Yeah.
right? It's not just a feeling. It is a verb that you were actually completely doing.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for listening, and
Joining us in our car. We're going to be, we're
it
going
might
to
be like
address
this a lot.
Yeah, we're going to address this, but in case this is the first thing you've seen, like, we have been trying now for months. We have a studio at home. We put together an office. We've been trying for months to find time, but we both work full time. We've got 5 kids. We've got other responsibilities and duties, and like, we just weren't doing it, but we commute to work.
We're sitting in a Costco parking lot right now.
Oh, yeah. A couple times a week, we drive together to work, and it's about a 40-minute drive each way. And we're like, you know what?
This is the space.
It doesn't matter. Like, we need to get the word out. We can talk about it. In fact, some of our best conversations were like, we should just record these.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's just do it. Let this be it. We have the space and time for it, and we can get the word out, and that's what matters. So if you're wondering why we're sitting in the car, it's not for a lack of care. It's because we're doing the very best we can as full-time parents and with jobs to do
to share this and to help others with it.
And
So,
we don't want to wait any longer.
no.
Like I said, this is something I believe will help every single person who tries it. I don't believe this is something that is just for some people.
Every single person that's listening to this right now is either dealing with this themselves or has someone in their life that is dealing with something similar, and they either know it or you don't. It is a very common and rampant problem, especially in communities of faith where shame has made it so difficult to come out of. But we are on a mission to change that and to help people understand that you're not a monster. You're not a vile, horrible person because you have been targeted by something that works, like a feeling that everyone has, that it's God-given, and it's been wrapped in this shame bubble, and you're not a bad person. And the spouses who are struggling to see past that, who had that bad programming like I did, like, guys, don't write off your spouse. They're incredible human beings that are hurting, and this is a coping mechanism. It's not about you. It's not about sex. It's not about it's a coping mechanism to deal with something else, and they need love and support. And that's what I want to share, and we want to show you that this is a good man right here who loves me, loves our kids, has been trying to quit for forever and didn't know he could, and how easy it could be, and we can't not share this. So,
You know, this is a message that is for any person, of faith or not. This process will help any person. But if you are of faith, especially if you're Christian, what is the atonement for if it's not for something like this? If you're struggling and you have things that you feel shameful about, this is what Christ died for.
what he lived for.
It's what he lives for now.
So join us on this journey. We're going to share the things that we're doing, the subjects we talk about, how we're coping, how we're healing, the raw moments, because they're not over. We're still mid-process, but what's different for us is that we've created a connection that's helping us through those harder moments, and we are truly in such a beautiful place, and we have to share that with you, with those that need it. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.